Hello everybody, and let's exit to port. It is currently the 24th of March at 17:50. Still CET, not yet CEST. I think that happens this weekend for us here in Norway as far as I know. But regardless, I still am being joined by my wonderful, effervescent, and ever light-footed Mr. Grumbles the Dwarf.
I'm not sure. At least one of those descriptors is somewhat off the mark. But okay, hello.
I don't know, man. I feel they fit you very well. Welcome back to Exit to Port, everybody. Long episode last time. One of my favorite episodes. Much like whenever we have a guest, I just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. The conversations we have and the conversations we had with Chegg last time were lovely. So many things to learn about that person, and yeah, no, such a great character to have along too. And I do believe the community have been very, very much in agreement with that. So
he's a good egg.
He is a good egg. Just Chegg, good egg. And you know what? He actually he helped me out something. I forgot to mention that as part of our editorial meeting. Hey. Yesterday I was watching a wonderful streamer, which I normally know from TikTok, because she posts her clips from TikTok, or her clips on TikTok from playing Tarkov and similar games. She was playing World of Warships yesterday. She's called Genticles. Yeah, she has the cutest profile picture, like the chibi style, with her holding this cute octopus. So yeah, but I was sitting there yesterday, and I saw new names in the World of Warships category. I was like, what's going on? Who's this? So I jump in there, and then I see that this person has Genticles and a few others in the title. Like, okay, you know what? I'll jump over to Jen and introduce myself and say hello. And they were trying to get into the duck mode, right? And I was just like, so I was like, hi, I'm TigersDen. I'm a CC community contributor for World of Warships on the EU servers. If you have any questions about the game, just feel free to shout them out. And then they said, "Oh, we have an authority here. Can we, do you know what level you need to be to play the duck game?" And I had to be honest and say, no, I don't know. And it turns out it is at level 14 in your access levels, because that's when you get access to operations. So it's part of those special game modes. And thankfully, like even without the wonderful help of the community team, it would have gotten there eventually, but she and her friends wouldn't be able to play it during that stream, because it would have taken, I think it is a total of 25 to 30 games to get up to that level now. But I was like, okay, I see somebody that is really excited about the ducks because they thought they could jump in and actually access ducks. And I would love to be able to say that you could just jump in and do that. But so I reached out to Chegg. I was like, Chegg, listen here. You have somebody on the front page of Twitch with 6,000 viewers right now. She is a lot of giggles and a lot of fun. Can we help her out by getting her account to level 14 at least? And Chegg, being for EU, wasn't able to, but he poked Askans, and Askans popped in, and he was able to help out. Like normally it'd be press account and everything, but I thought, you know what? Okay, we need to act fast here. We have almost 6,000 people here, where probably 95% of them haven't seen the game at all. let's see what the community team can do. And Chag showed up in chat, and the scans showed up in chat, and it was just a lot of fun to see a community that normally is around a completely different game be so super thankful and kind of sit there and giggle and have a laugh with the duck mode that released yesterday, I think, for us. Or yeah, yesterday for us, and we got to try it today during the grumbling.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in saying that this is it's just so much fun?
No, not at all. It is. It's a duck load of fun.
It is. And, like, she was giggling, and I was giggling in the same way today. Like, there were laughters, there were giggles, all the different sounds they make, and the effects and such. Like,
yeah, the horn where it's like a duck squeeze and then the wheezing sound afterwards. It's really, really well done. The art style, the way they put the arena together, just the whole thing. It's a really, really neat package.
Yeah, no, fully agree. Like, it's, and I know there's gonna be some skeptics out there that's gonna, they're only using this to test out new effects. So we're probably gonna have mines in the game soon. So yeah, so what? Like, the successful concept test of something doesn't mean that it's gonna be bad. And I know people are going, yeah, but look at the subs. Yeah. If they had implemented the subs in the same way that they had them during the event, I think we would be even more angry because they would be doing dolphin dives and such everywhere. And I don't, honestly, the subs were fun with how they were implemented the first time, but if we would have had them in game in the same way now, oh boy, we would have had some angry, spicy chat. I'll tell you that. Even more angry, spicy chat, but no.
Also, if people like to call out their track record on the rest of it, then then look at it this way. First and foremost, the duck thing is just super, super fun. So don't worry about all the other things that coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe, will, whatever, right? And secondly, and this is just obviously tongue in cheek, but look how long it took to get from the first time we saw subs in that Halloween to the subs of today. Years.
It has been years, yeah.
So maybe it takes that long to get mines or anything else to come in. I don't know, but I think you're right. I think the key point is don't worry about it. Don't speculate, or you can if you want, but you know, there's no point being negative. We're talking about something super fun and positive that they've put in there. Have at it. You know, chill out, get your stress levels down. If randoms or anything else are getting on your nerves, just play some ducks. It's a good laugh.
Like, you get base XP that actually counts. You get credits. You get, like, it actually counts. Like, what more can you ask for from a specialty game mode? Like, they have nailed this. Like, this is so good. We have missions that count. We have it's a good event.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's silly fun. So I'll take it for what it is and enjoy it.
And I know I've said this before, but I'd love to see more game modes, like, maybe not in the shape of the hot tub, but more differentiated game modes on a rotational thing. Kind of like War Thunder does. War Thunder has this enduring confrontation thing that they do from time to time, where one week it's for naval and the other week it's for air, and or for ground or whatever. But it rotates. So honestly, if we could have a weekly rotation of arms race, of all the different special game modes that we've had, and have that go through so that you can actually go in and say, okay, now I want to do some arms race. Now I want to do these. I know there's a queue thing there, but it would be nice to be able to do that, because then you play the games you want to, and then you jump back and get your progress properly on, get back to the sweaty and being serious. You know, we all know how serious randoms are. Yeah. It's named randoms because it's very serious. Yep. It's not like we have ranked or anything that could be more serious. I don't know. Or just randoms would steal, as some call it. But no, like, honestly, ducks, well done, World of Warships. My hat is off. Yep. We had some pinball moments today.
Yep.
I know you had at least one where you bounced a few times and then got sent back into some torpedoes that you successfully dodged the first time.
Yep. Yeah. I think it was happening often enough that I'm not entirely sure whether it was luck or skill. But yeah, when you get the old triple or quadruple bounce and you're like, oh no, I'm in danger. Oh, I'm safe. Oh no, I'm back in danger. Oh, never mind. Yeah. It's I do very much enjoy that. So yeah, give it a go, folks. Make up your own minds, and hopefully you'll have as much fun as we did.
Yeah, no, I had a couple of moments too where I was bouncing. It was like, haha, I'm safe, and oh, minefield. Sugar. And it's like, whatever. And then my duck just kind of went unconscious and yeah.
Like even that, I know we're going on and on about it now, but the artwork as usual, the audio stuff was good, and I really enjoyed like even little things like when the duck was sinking under the water, if one of your allies had gone down or whatever, or your enemies, and it was kind of like really cool, really cute, but also a little bit sad, like, oh, look at that duck going under the water.
Yeah.
And it just, I guess because again it was a bathtub, so it's like mostly clear water and that kind of thing. It just worked. The mini map looking like a little picture of the bathtub.
The only thing I hate about it is the freaking doorbell in the background making me go, is that my doorbell? No, it's not my doorbell.
I never heard the doorbell. That's the advantage of being, I don't know, deaf to certain, or being older, so my hearing's not as good or whatever. I don't know.
Because I noticed it, like, I didn't notice it today, but I noticed it yesterday while watching Genticles. It was just, I sat there, ding, 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 ding. I was like, hold on. I took off my headphones. Is that my doorbell? Do I need to go check? Like, is something wrong? Are my neighbors here to contact me? Like, what's going on? And I put it on again, and then another battle, and ding, 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 ding. I was like, what? Okay, you know what? And it turns out it was actually in game, because somebody then went, is that my doorbell? Like, I'm not the only one. Okay, good.
It'd be kind of funny if tomorrow there was a knock on your door and you answered it, and it was like your neighbor saying, we had to take 3 parcel deliveries for you yesterday, because you basically tuned out doorbell noises.
Yeah, no, it would, it wouldn't surprise me.
I have a solution for you. Get a doorbell like the one I have, which is basically like a prison door buzzer and scares the absolute bejesus out of you when it goes off.
Yeah, no thank you. No thank you, sir. I think I'll just redo my doorbell and actually have a wireless one that also triggers down here.
You could have a soundbite that says, this is actually your door. Well, I have Brian say it.
Tiger, there is someone at your door. Thank you, Brian. No, not you. Oh, god damn it. Anyway, yeah, plenty of content coming for World of Warships, and this is also new content as such. Well, I mean, are the ducks really new content? They've been in before, but no matter. There's plenty of stuff coming. We can't really say anything, but we have plenty of test ships on our account, and yeah. That means, of course, that there is content coming, and they've also released the South American line, haven't they? or the Pan American. Didn't they release them now? I'm confused.
I'm looking at a chat window waiting for Durac to type the answer for me. That usually happens on my channel.
So, Grumbles. No. Yeah. I do believe they're out because they did play them yesterday on the official stream.
Yeah, that's usually a good clue.
Yeah. Although they have started playing some test strips from time to time.
They did say they were going to do that as well. Cheeky.
And I like that. I like that. Maybe there's a chance that we might be able to play test strips from time to time. But
yeah, they said they were looking into options, didn't they?
It would be fun, but I also understand why it's not up. Anyway, more content incoming. King of the Sea signups are now open. They might be closed by the time you hear this episode, but if I'm able to upload this quickly enough, it should be up and open still, and that means also the streamer sign up is still open. So if you want to stream and cast King of the Sea, it's open. Speaking of things that are open, the Sim events by Crab Nation and Wingaling Dragon have been open to the community for a long time.
Yep.
And both of them do great work. And recently I got to watch them do an A10 Warthog event where there were tanks and that they were doing low passes over with a GAU-8 and then dropping bombs. And I'll tell you what, getting to watch Wing, Crab, and all the other skilled pilots use those planes to their fullest in Sim. Oh my god! Like how do they do it? You've been part of these events. Like what's it like in the lead up?
It's amazing. It is. You get so like caught up in it in a good way. It becomes like this immersive sort of an emotional bundle because you're nervous. You want to do your part well. You want it to go well for the others, especially the event creators and coordinators and things, and all the people that are putting their time and effort in. And it just becomes this. It starts rolling and just becomes this bundle moving sort of forward on its own. They're just really, really. Incredibly fun to be a part of. They're like, it's nerve-wracking, but you come out of it afterwards thinking, oh my goodness, that was like, a thing. This is how I felt always, like, oh, I hope I didn't ruin it for anybody. Had a great time, and it genuinely, like, it's just using the words, but like for it, but like it is an event, if you know what I mean, not just like factually, but it feels like you're part of something, even though it's all virtual and everything. You just feel engaged and kind of drawn into the moment, and depending on like what the event content is and whether that's your era or your preference or whatever, where you're comfortable playing. I like all the World War II stuff, 1 and 2. That's more my kind of thing than the modern era, but it's just really enjoyable. And obviously the way you've got Wing, who's just so giving of his time and his knowledge and experience, and just wants everybody to be comfortable and kind of embraced and just genuinely have fun in it. And then you've got Crab, who talk about a bundle of energy. I don't know.
There's no other way of describing him.
There's no other way of describing. Yeah, exactly. He's got the right name as well, Crab Nation, because he is like a nation's worth of energy. It's not like one person, but also just so humble and fun loving, and just like, come on, let's go lads, let's have some fun together. And it makes for a really, really enjoyable mixture. And then you get the community from all ends of the spectrums and things, but they all have something in common. They want to have fun, they want to be part of it, and then you get to be a part of and or create your own kind of cinematic aspects to it afterwards to kind of immortalize the events. I was just having a look now, and the the ones posted up there, I'm trying to work out how accurate, but it looks like it's up to date. Looks like they're doing some more Lancaster bombers.
Yes, they were talking about during the AT event.
Yeah.
A10 event.
So
I'm looking forward
I
to
only
that.
just spotted that one because that, if anything's going to get me back into the War Thunder, there's no reason why I'm not in it other than just time now. But oh boy, Lancaster bombers. I remember just how much fun the Wellington event was.
You're gonna have to catch up a bit because the Lancaster has new bombs available.
Right. Okay.
It has the 12,000 pound bomb available now.
Oh, that's why they've called it that. Okay, so they've got a morning and an evening run. So their morning one is tomorrow night, Saturday night, 9 p.m. Central European time, and their afternoon one is 5:30 a.m. on Sunday. So bit bright and breezy, but the evening one, that's almost doable. I'm glad that we're talking about this because I just coincidentally noticed, so I might have to pick that one and see. Maybe I'll have to go into War Thunder tomorrow and or later on and dust off a little bit and see if I've got the Lancaster, because that's one of my all-time favorite planes, because as a kid watching them fly overhead at air shows, they made a real impression on me.
The engines, the proper roar of those engines, dude. Yeah. There's something about that. There really is. So yeah, no, maybe we'll see another Grumbles video about sim events soon. Huh?
My free time and video editing time next week is kind of cringing in the corner somewhere, just staring at me.
You are a content creator. You do not have free time.
Exactly. My already pre-scheduled and booked out time for next week is cringing and biting its fingernails in the corner.
Speaking of content and content creation, you recently jumped in on a fairly hidden gem of a game, where we're going to talk a bit about it role-playing wise later, but first and foremost, we need to talk a bit about Vintage Story.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Vintage Story came out of nowhere for me, and I know it came out of nowhere for a lot of people. So yeah, like what happened? Tell us the story, Grumbles.
So I can't really mention this without throwing in a little silly anecdote that we always have for, which is that myself and Cletus and Cowboy, the genuine Cowboy, we have this little running joke where Cowboy is one of these super excited folk who just kind of, I don't know how, like just plugged into gaming in general, just like, knowing all sorts of things like beyond their age, old school stuff, new stuff, whatever, just, but as one of the sort of consequences is this, they've got this amazing energy and enthusiasm and a capacity to kind of just remember all of these little details and these bits and bobs, right? That is beyond me. But the joke that Cletus and I have is that he's always like, oh, have you seen like Red Sausage Banana 2 is coming out next week? He just, and so we've got this running joke of like him just making up the names of games because he just says there's this thing and we're like, that's not a real game, you know what I mean, in like a friendly younger sibling kind of way. And it's so funny because it always is. He doesn't make the stuff up, it just sounds like he's making it up, right? So he came along with this with Vintage Story, which isn't as an extravagant of a name as a lot of the other stuff that he comes up with or comes in with. But it's like Vintage Story. And I don't know why, but because he's into a lot of like anime stuff and all these things. I'm just kind of like, okay, this is just going to, because he plays so many wildly different games, platformer, puzzles, you name it, that I don't really get or whatever. So I'm just like, okay, that's just another one of these, just put that in the random made up name box. Kind of at first, that was like my first impression because, just being busy in that. Yeah. And then he got Cletus. He was like, Cletus, you really got to look at this thing. So then Cletus had a look at it, and then they brought Sajjar in, who's a regular community member, another streamer in Cletus's community, and they had a quick look at it. And then they started pinging me and like being in chat or sending me DMs of like, you got to look at this game. And I was like, okay, all right, there's 3 or 4 people telling me to look at this thing. I'll have a look at it. They're not making it up, right? But I was also like, oh, I've got so many things to do and play and whatnot. I, don't need something new. So I had a quick look at the video, and then I started watching the intro vid, and I can't remember if it was in their trailer video. Because it's not on Steam either. I think it's on Humble Bundle. And
Humble has it, and they sell from their own site too.
Yeah, they sell on their own site, and there's another one, IO something or other. I can't remember what it's called. So I went to their website, and I looked at the trailer, and somewhere, I think either in the trailer or in one of the other videos I found on YouTube, there's a bit where someone drops a torch or sets a fire, and their house catches on fire, or something they were working on. I can't remember the exact detail, but and then my message back to Cletus was something like, after he'd messaged me on one of my days off, I messaged him back about 2.5 hours later saying, I've just watched through a couple of videos on it. I see that you can set your own stuff on fire and that fire spreads really wildly. I'm in. So it started life as like a part of a mod for I can't remember the name, but people keep telling me the name, but my memory. So it started off as a Minecraft mod, and then they went their own path, made it into their own product, and grew an adventure and a bit of lore, and there's these kind of NPC enemies, and obviously all the season changes and whatnot. And they went in a really deeply immersive kind of medieval-ish, like pseudo-medieval kind of experience where you go from sort of Stone Age through to like metalwork, bronze, copper, bronze, iron, and eventually steel and stuff. But you don't really go into modern stuff. There are some mods that can add like some sort of old school electricity and stuff like that, but not really my thing, that part. And
because
then
it's
this whole story about,
because it's Lovecraftian.
This exactly. Yeah, so there's this whole temporal distance and storms and lost ancient civilizations, and you got to go dungeon delving and look for clues and all that if you want to, or you can just survive. So it's like survival, bit of story, the kind of medieval setting, and I've been really hankering to have a role play experience. We'll talk about that a bit later, but like set in a medieval setting. And I've never played Minecraft, so a lot of people are like, that's where people come in and they go, oh, it's Minecraft and all this kind of thing. But people, the interesting thing, and it's kind of positive as well for the game, is that people are like coming in thinking, oh, this looks like Minecraft, and then they're spending 5 or 10 minutes there, and then they're going, oh, this is really different. This is like way more advanced, or a lot more complexity in a good way over here, and more immersive, and that, which is the thing that draws me into it. Yeah, and it's just been such a good time. We got, stats is in there, and specimens come over from the foxhole scooping crew to the the micro block chiseling and gathering all the bits and bobs. And he's one of those like goes off and just works really hard in the background, makes everything happen kind of thing. But he's also having fun doing some fun role play together as well. And we're making the Kingdom of Barovia in there. We're doing like the origin story of Barovia. So yeah, it's the game is just, it's so rewarding because it feels like everything is challenging or like intellectually you got to think your way through stuff, but not in a way, or not in the way I don't think where you like focus on, oh, this is a grind or there's too much repetition. It's you I think because it's sort of realistic in the way, and the pace of the game is very good. So you are doing like loops of tasks, but you're having to move around different tasks or interact and work with others in a group so that everything is kind of being done and you're progressing. And so like building, several buildings, doing some farming, doing some food, preparing for winter, learning to fight off the enemies and put up defenses, looking after farm animals, or all these things. You can't do like mass produce everything. all in like 1 or 2 days worth or whatever of the in-game time. It's the time's passing in just the right way that if you say, oh, I need to make some tools today, so I'm going to do some smithing and blah, 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 then like that's your day's gone. And then it's like, so you couldn't tend to the farm that day. So you've got to make your choices and say, okay, these are the things we're going to try and do. And it feels so rewarding because it feels like, okay, this took me several days of, whatever that equates to in the number of hours in real life. But this took me like in numbers of hours, which is X amount of days and time passing in the game. But the result of this sort of 2 weeks worth of working is we've got a barn for the animals.
So this is kind of one we were talking about in Eco, where the end game was kind of... I wouldn't say disappointing, but it always became one of these, we're just going to rush up until we get the cars, the technology, and we can get the oil and get the plastics and the advanced parts and such. That wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to create a community, for the lack of a better word, where somebody has their job, they do their job well, and it's their job to tend to. And I like that's where I'm kind of seeing Vintage Story go, that if you were to play it completely all by your lonesome, it's going to be almost overwhelming. However, in a multiplayer setting, you have the miners, you have the people that can go out and do their thing and make sure that you gather materials for the others that can then help you create whatever it is you want to create. Like, and I think one thing that lends itself to that, or kind of really nails that point home, is the chiseling. Because for most people who aren't used to any voxel, like you have these large chunks of material that then gets broken down into something different by placing them in a certain order within a crafting table or such. And then you place that finished product down. However, Vintage Story has the chisel tool, where if you have a full block, or not all blocks, but most blocks as far as I've seen, where you can chisel it down and create a shape or a pattern in it to make it look like something different. Like, it's not just that block anymore.
Yep.
It almost turns into an item through that work, but it's still a block. Like, I love that tool. I've been missing that in other games.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that you can then combine materials from different kinds of blocks, there's one of the tools that I hadn't used until yesterday, and it's a pentagraph, and it allows you to copy stuff you've chiseled as well. So if you've made something that's really intricate and it took you like, I don't know, 10 real life hours to chisel something out or whatever, you don't have to be like, oh, I need 2 of these for 2 pillars or something. You can then sort of copy pasta it. Or you can just chisel it out because you're living your life and what you do is chisel stuff in your character. So that's what I like as well. You've got the choice. You can like put as little or as much into it as you want and specialize or generalize, and then you reap the rewards of those actions, sort of thing. So it feels like consequences, but because it's a friendly style, it never, I find that it doesn't, it's very subtle, but it doesn't leave you feeling like kind of bitter and like, this really frustrates me, or maybe it's different for different people, but I just really enjoy that slow grind pace. It's
the pacing. The pacing is also another thing that I missed from Eco. Like, in the start, Eco is that pace. It is nice. It's just, it kind of flows very nicely and is very rewarding once you complete something, but then it just ramps up. But the pacing in Vintage Story it's kind of set in stone almost. Like, there's probably some service settings that you can play around with, but no, it's very, very rewarding, as you say, because once you finish a task, it has taken some time, but there's a sense of accomplishment after.
Yeah. So like, just, you know, we've got to like move on to different subjects and things, but like, just I think one of the things that frustrated me a little bit with Eco. I've loved Eco, and the RPing in it is really fun, and it's a fun game. And I actually enjoy that there isn't like too much obvious conflict and danger and stuff like that. But one of the things now, having played Vintage Story, that looking back on it with my Eco experiences, one of the hardest things for me in Eco, and it's actually almost the same in several other survival games. I'm not going to say all of them, but like, and I know there are a few exceptional ones, but say Atlas as an example. Not talking about the good and the bad of that game itself, but as a survival experience, the only passage of time you've really got is day and night cycle.
Yeah.
But there's no consequence or sustained, you know, or evolving or whatever, like progressive passage of time element to it. And I think now with Vintage Story, it's very different because you have this actual passage of time in the game, the different seasons and so forth. And that brings with it additional challenges and benefits, you know, and consequences. So if you didn't bother harvesting or doing any farm work through the summer because you were too busy chiseling or too busy smelting tools or whatever, well, lo and behold, winter comes, you're cold, you're starving.
Yep.
Good luck hunting those wolf packs that are going to overwhelm you. So, and one of the things that's frustrated me with Eco and some other survival experiences is you have to, from a roleplay setting perspective, is you're then entirely reliant on the players behaving in a manner like acting out as if there's a passage of time.
Yeah.
And almost always there are people, and it can be a smaller number or a larger number, but it doesn't take many to break in the immersion, that kind of just ignore that. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make you a car. That'll take me an hour. Like, what? What are you talking about? How do you make a car in an hour? You know, so and whilst you still get that because people are playing the game element to it, if you think about it logically, or what I find is that people are still, they're leaning a little bit more, or they're guided more into the whole, well, there's a passage of time, right? This will take 10 days to, I don't know, for these plants to ripen, so I can't harvest this for you for 10 days or whatever. And even if you're talking about a mechanic, it's 10 days, and that might pass in numbers of hours or 1 or 2 days of real life. Still, you still lean into it because you're like, it takes 10 days for these fruit to grow,
yeah,
or whatever, ripen, and you're like, so you just have that kind of setup there, and that really helps with immersion. And it's one of the things I didn't realize. I guess I kind of knew I was missing it, but when you see how it could be, you then suddenly realize, oh wow, that's kind of the big gap in a lot of these other survival games. There's no consequence, or you know, it makes no difference about a passage of time in a day-night cycle, other than, ooh, it's scarier and we might get eaten.
Yeah, no, another game that actually does that very nicely with passage of time is Dinkum. Because after 2,300 hours, the clock just says late, and you don't have access to your full energy bar, and you don't replenish as much. So you're kind of forced to go to bed. And sleep until 7 in the morning. Yeah, and I like that, because it's not just, oh, wait 3 hours and sit here and just watch, and suddenly, oh, the apples have grown again, gonna harvest them. No, you actually have to wait X amount of in-game days between each time you can harvest, and I do like that in a game. So yeah, no, it's kind of cool. And it's weird with the game that gives you a sense of time that also draws you in and removes your sense of time, if that makes sense. Yep. It's scary and well done at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like the best example I've seen to date of exactly that, where you say, oh, I'm going to do this and this, and you've got the double whammy of, firstly, that will take you a few hours anyway, just in IRL time. you can't say I'm going to make this thing and in like half an hour later it's done. It's like, okay, this is a little quest of chain of things, you know, depending on the task. But if it's like a meaningful, beneficial consequence that you're aiming towards, then it's, you know, a decent chunk of real time that's going to have to pass by. And secondly, exactly as we've just touched upon, just the way the passage of time is handled in the game feels, it just feels super immersive. It's that's the big win for me out of this one.
It's just, do I really need another game that can take up many hours of my life again?
I mean, my counter to that would be, let's be realistic. You're going to find some or play some anyway. And this one is there's something magical. And it doesn't mean you have to play it all the time or whatever, but there's something just really calming, I find. Even if it's like, oh, winter's coming, we've got to do some things or whatever. Overall, because you can see and you can map out like a path and say, I'm going to do this, whether it's the right thing or, you know, whether you lean into mechanics more or less or whatever. But you just say, okay, I want to build a farmhouse. So this is what I'm going to need. These materials, you know, some foundation, an area, I'm going to map out roughly what it's going to look like. And, you know, all these kind of, how much space do I need? Yada, yada, yada. So you say, okay, I'm going to do these things. And then just like you spend a couple of hours, and whilst you might not get a lot done, you're like, a couple of hours, I'm going to get loads done. Oh, well, actually, no, I just about got the area mapped out and maybe found some logs.
Yep.
Right. And your tools broke in the process. And you're like, oh, God, I got to do all these other things. But you'll step away and then you'll come back like the next day, or it could be like a week later or whatever, and you'll go back into that world and you'll be like, oh yeah, cool, we're building that farmhouse. Okay, now let's have a quick look at the calendar. Okay, it's this time of year. This is what we're going to need to prepare. This is what we're going to need for the next sort of phase. And you're like, okay, I'm going to need a couple of tools. So I want to carry on building the farmhouse, but either I just grab some dirt and just make a dirt hut just to, you know, make some progress, or we'll go and spend some time looking for some copper. We'll go and make ourselves some metal tool, you know. And I find that just personally very, very rewarding. It's just like, it doesn't give me that feeling of like, oh, I absolutely must do this thing. Now, I have to say that you have to have a degree of discipline and like not do the whole, oh, I'm logging off at 5 a.m. or the sun's coming up already, you know? Or do that and just accept that that's how so like if I compare that to other, I don't want to name other names because I don't want it to sound like I'm digging at other, but like, I don't know myself of many other games where you can make progress in terms of the actual game, but that sense of actual achievement and actually feeling the reward and being able to sit back and go, oh, wow, look at that. I built that. Even if that took you like a real life month, which equate to whatever, a couple of years passing in the game, being able to get to that point of like, now the next winter's coming, but you've got your food supply sorted out. You've got your cellar. You've got your tool making area, your forge is set up, you've got your nice warm, you know, glass windows that you've made and everything. You can really kick back and go, wow, look at that. That's, you know, and then the winter comes and you're like, winter's terrible and scary and whether food is scarce and storms and all that kind of thing, but if nothing else, we can get back and close the door and you get that feeling like warming up by the fire and, you know, and I don't know of many other experiences where you would get that reward.
Yeah. No, it's fun when you find those. It is. It's good. But speaking of time sinks, there's a certain game that has open beta starting today. Not sure how long it's going to be running. But Diablo 4 has had both its closed beta and starting up the open beta. It has released now in June, but yeah, I'm just gonna need to mention it because if my Diablo 3 track record and my Diablo 2 track record is anything to go by, I think yeah. This is gonna yeah. Let's just move on to Dredge before I jump into a way too deep hole. But yeah, no, Diablo 4 open beta, it's here.
Yeah, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I know a lot of people are just super into it. I guess I'm blessed in that I don't get super hooked on those things, so I can just let that one drift by me. But I see the people that are, and it's like you said, goodbye the next few days, goodbye weekend, kind of thing. So
yeah, I'm gonna see how the Diablo 4 behaves first, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so good luck. Don't forget to eat and drink. Dredge. So Dredge.
You know who you're talking to, right?
Exactly. That's why I said it. Sincere concern.
Forget to eat and
Genuine
drink.
concern.
I forget and eat to drink already. Like what? No.
I know. That's why I'm giving you an extra reminder that you can forget about halfway through my next sentence.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
Dredge.
I played this game called Dredge as the demo, and boy oh boy, another like a game where you just, I don't know, I just looked for a couple of demos when there was a big Steam demo thing, and I was like, let's see, and this one just caught my eye, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of really different, and it's sort of very beautiful art, cartoony style. Trying to describe it, Tiger and I were like chuckling to trying to work out how to describe it exactly. It's kind of I would describe it more as a story-based or story-oriented game that uses boats that are fishing boats and sort of fishing mechanics and collecting and gathering both things to sell to people, trade, but also like weird oddities, mysterious articles and things. And there's a bit of a Lovecraftian sort of, there's something sinister sort of lurking around both in the water and just in the world in general, and people aren't quite telling you the full story, and it's kind of like it's got a little bit of like a feel to both like a sort of Lovecraftian element, but also like an old Sherlock Holmes novel or something. There's some sort of mystery, and it's like what's like Hound of the Baskervilles kind of thing. And yeah, I just I mean, it's got fishing boats, story, some sort of weird like monstery like mystery tale going on in the background. I was like, okay, I'm in. And the demo was just it just. I was intrigued, and then we played the demo, and it was like, this is awesome. This is really, really like, this one draws you in. Another passion project. People have really carefully crafted the characters and the storylines and whatever. And it releases on the 30th of March. So I don't know if I can get a key for it, but I'm trying. And yeah, I just love it, and I wanted to sort of shout it out, mention it to people that they should, at least put it on your wish list or whatever. Have a look. It's called Dredge, and I think it'll be a good one. Like one of those kind of low flying, but just really worth having a look at.
Yeah, for those of you watching this on YouTube, you'll see that it says Dredge, story-based fishing.
Yeah,
that's at least the voice I have in my head as I type out that. So yeah, no, Dredge. It sounds interesting. It's gonna be something to look forward to for a few people, I think, because and I'm definitely starting to sense a bit of a theme with you lately, because there's another game upcoming that we're gonna be talking about, but first, Mercury Fallen. So it's written here. It's an older game, but it checks out. Like, what's this? Why? What caught your eye on this one?
So, like as creators, we get, occasionally like some random emails, a couple of week, a couple of day, whatever, where it's like, hey, check this thing out, or hey, do you want to look at this, or, and I got one of those, but it was like written more personally, like more attention, and it seemed like a real person rather than a copy pasta, like, dear next creator on the list, blah, 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 generic message. So I was like, okay, this is intriguing. And it's a chap called Tim, who he's like, hi, I'm Tim. I'm the developer of this. This is all written in the game and everything. There's no secrets away with his names. And he's like, I had a look at some of the stuff you play and your style, and I think you might be interested in this. So, you know, if you want to check out my game, let me know. So he didn't just send me the key straight off or whatever, like a one and done.
Yeah.
But it's like, here's a bit of details about it. That's what we do. Here's a link to some videos. Have a look if you want. And it was like, it was enough to make me think, okay, there's an actual sort of caring person here. So I had a quick look at it, and then I was like, okay, there's something. It's a sort of colony management survival type thing where you, the premise is basically that you've been sent off through space beyond our solar system to look for planets with resources and livable and that kind of thing. And you get there and something hasn't quite gone right, not quite in a Prometheus alien whatever kind of way that I know of, but although no spoilers or anything, possibly. And yeah, you're in cryostasis and all the rest of it, and then you wake up and there's been some sort of malfunctions. One of your people's missing. It's not really big spoiler because that's like right at the start, you'll see that. And then you've got a little robot that you can instruct around, and then you've got your crew, and then they've all got different character flaws and their sort of technical capabilities, but also things that they do or don't like doing, and what will make them feel, you know, happy or sad and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit like Sims-y-ish element to it, but and then you've got to basically you're stuck underground on this remote alien planet, and you've got to kind of dig your way out and use your resources wisely and get some food production going, and then eventually dig your way to the surface and start surveying the planet for resources and whatever, and then also reestablishing communication back with Earth, which would take like forever, but you know, at the moment you've got no communication, and it's just got that little, like, it's still in development. It came out in 2017, so it's, you know, that's hence the older game, but you can see that it's just been like crafted and cared for over time. It can have mods added to it as well, although I haven't had a chance to look at any of them. And I don't know, for me, it just had that kind of, so hopefully this goes well, but maybe everybody will get kind of miserable or sick or, you know, injured, that kind of thing. And there's robots, so it's like, well, the robot's always going to be good and do what we tell them, and there's something called xenomold, which I haven't found yet, but that should give you enough of a hint, like it does to me, of like
as in black mold, or you're molding like okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, don't know yet.
If you ever speak to the developer again, could you ask him if he's a fan of Sting? Sting, yes, the artist. Okay. Because Sting has an album called Mercury Fallen. So okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know. So yeah, I will do. But yeah, seems like a good chap. I did my little YouTube first try of it, and I was playing. I tried to do an hour, and usually it's like an hour and 2, or you know, around about the mark. And this one was an hour and 15. And I was like, oh, I really should finish the episode because I was well into the second episode already. So it hooked me enough that I was like, you know, okay, let's go. And it doesn't have a tutorial in a traditional like point here, click here, that kind of thing. It just gives you some tasks and says get on with this, and then you kind of got to use your brain a little bit, which is difficult for me, but you kind of work your way in and say, oh, so this is how this works and stuff. But it's yeah, I don't know about how much depth there is to it and all the rest of it, but because I've only played that first just over an hour, but I really think it's worth people having a look at.
So there you go, people. Go check out Grumbles' first playthrough of Mercury Fallen on YouTube. There will be a link to his channel down below. So yeah, go check that out. If you like base building kind of colony survival, then this will be it for you. And I have to say, the way you describe the way the way the dev reached out to you, it's very respectful, and it seems it seems like somebody that you'd like to work with, you'd like to have a conversation with, because there are so many devs out there. Like about a month or 2 ago, I got an email that looked like it was a meeting confirmation where it says your stream schedule has been set. I'm like, excuse you? So I go into it, and then there's some dev that has kind of structured it with showing, this is how your stream schedule looks with our new game. I'm like, no, that is not how you reach out to a creator at all. Certainly not me. And so that's a nope. So yeah, no, then kudos to them for reaching out in that way. I like that. I like that.
Yep.
But what reached out to you in regards to Barotrauma? Because here's the theme. Like, we're talking, things could go horribly wrong. There might be monsters. There might be something Cthulhu-esque. Who knows? And then here we are again. Because so far you have Vintage Story, which has Lovecraftian themes. You have Dredge, which has Lovecraftian themes. And now we're in Barotrauma. So, Grumbles, is there something you'd like to talk about?
I don't know, but maybe I need to without even having realized that there's always something so cool. I suppose it's because I've always liked the idea that we're not alone, and that there's other things and worlds and whatnot that we can't comprehend or perceive. Can I interest you in Subnautica, perhaps? Oh no, I've got to. I've got a commitment for that anyway, outstanding. So
you do? Okay,
that will be a thing at some point. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those. I want to play that, but I'm also like scared of it. But I want to play it. And
by the way, I have an idea for that for you that we can talk about, but it's kind of stealing an idea from a different, well, not stealing, but it's using the same idea that a different creator did. So I'm going to talk you through it afterwards. But yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, Barotrauma.
So Barotrauma. So Barotrauma was a game that I never really sort of like paid too much attention. It's got the word trauma in it, so I and I was just like, this doesn't sound like, I'm not going to look at that. And then one of those days I was just bumbling along, and Gassy was playing it, with friends, and I was like, oh, okay, this is that game that name stuck in my mind somehow, and it looked different than what I expected at first, like a kind of a scrolly, side scroller type thing, and I was like, oh, this isn't really what I was expecting this to be from the description, and then from what I'd heard, and then he sort of described it briefly, and it was kind of like, so you can sort of, accidentally or deliberately screw over your friends or ruin the mission, or my mind started whirring with like the old what could possibly go wrong kind of thing, and I thought, okay, that's very different, and I really like, and I'm really getting more and more into like, cooperative stuff, like you can get through this together if you really do bring in a bit of teamwork and all that kind of thing. I've gotten like the bug for that kind of thing, so I was kind of intrigued by it, but then I didn't think too much more of it. And then recently they had their 1.0 release coming up, and I just got a ping from Cringer saying, fancy some Barotrauma. And I was like, oh, maybe, sort of yes, no kind of thing. Or in German, like Jein. Because it was kind of like, yeah, playing games will be fun together. It always is. But I don't know. I'm a bit nervous. I'm a bit scared of this game. I'm not sure what it is.
And I quote in a DM from Grumbles the Dwarf on the 9th of March, 2023 at 07:49 in the morning. Also, ever played Barotrauma? Asking for a friend.
So I was nervous. So, because then I mentioned it in chat, and Jurak and a few others were like, Barotrauma. But lots of people all of a sudden just came out of the woodwork and were like, yeah, you've got to play Barotrauma. But it was one of those like, yeah, this is going to be funny.
Yeah.
So and so we had fixed the date for it, and we played with Arkard and Keo, who I'd not met before. Arkard I'd met briefly because we played Sons of the Forest a couple of weeks prior to that, and and then it was just utter chaos right from the beginning, because you've got all people that know each other to greater or lesser degrees, and then you're trying to learn the game and kind of in the, you know, little quick tutorial, but then like thrown in the, literally in the deep end, as it were, in the submarine and that. And once you realize like you're in this tin can. So you know me, I try to put my mind into the character and what's going on in the scene, rather than just seeing it as a game. So I was kind of like, oh my God, this is really scary. And just some point of him making a mistake. And then we went around and there was like a hole in the ship. So the captain's like, go and repair this hole in the ship. And I'm struggling to like learn my way around the ship and all this kind of thing. And it being me, of course, I've got the welder used to close gaps.
Oh,
and
no.
I've got the plasma cutter right next to each other on the hotbar, and they sort of look the same, and if you don't mouse over it you don't know which one's necessarily which. So I was like, they're like, there's a hole, you're not fixing the hole. I'm like, I am fixing the hole, I'm literally mousing, I'm fixing the hole. And then I suddenly got sucked out into the water and got crushed by pressure. And I was like, how the hole's just so, there's a big hole there, and I was welding it, why wasn't it fixing it? And then chat were like, Arcade at the same time, they were like, were you Grumbles? I was like, yeah. Were you using the plasma cutter? And then I sort of looked at my hotbar, and then it was like, oh no. So actually, when they were sending me down to weld the hole, I actually I was in the ballast tank, and I actually cut a big enough hole that my character got sucked through it into the deep water. So that was within the first like hour or two of my barotrauma experience. So it was quite traumatic.
So you actually suffered barotrauma?
Yes, I literally did. So, but we played on for about another. My mods were like, yeah, short stream on your day off, right? And I was like, yeah, this will be like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because that's what Cringer said to me on like before the weekend. He's like, yeah, we'll just do like a 3-hour segment or something. And then on Sunday night or something, he was like, oh, by the way, I switched up my schedule, so we'll play this from the beginning all the way, and then I've got a sponsor thing at the end. So basically, we played 7 hours of Barotrauma.
Yep.
I was pretty exhausted already, and it was like the first couple of hours was actually like pretty much actually quite stressful, because I was trying to understand the game, trying to listen to instructions, getting to know new people that I wasn't so familiar with yet, and and there was just a lot going on. And then there's what the game's throwing at you on top of that.
Yep.
But then we kind of like quick coffee break, and it was like, okay, let's reset. We didn't go that well. let's in terms of the game thing, let's see. And then I kind of was like just gently guiding them a little bit in the like, if you however you want to do it, and they ended up with like northeast, southwest, or whatever, and left and right, because I'm used to things like fore and aft, and not being a smart ass, I don't know a lot about naval technicalities or anything, but I know these basics obviously from ships and whatever. So I was like, for me it would have been like, if you want to send me to forward, I know, okay, that's cool, I go there. If you want to send me to the aft, that's there. If you want to send me to the engine room, that's here. And I would have got around a little bit quicker to know my way around. I'm not criticizing them, but they were very chaotic. It was like, go down there. I was like, where's down there? I don't know. So thankfully the game has like a ping mechanic, so you can sort of ping and it's that way, but then you still have the issue of they ping an area, and then if you're in the midships, it will send you like forward, but you don't know if that's forward below, so like ballast tank, or forward like there's a hole in the nose, or so you've still got to and there's a lot going on. They're trying to run away from beasties or shoot things or whatever. So
yeah.
But we sort of, after a break or two, it took us about 3 hours or so, then we kind of found a rhythm of like, okay, if we go with like a, top, bottom, or north, east, south, whatever you want to, but we stick to that kind of thing, then I'll know where you want me to go. And then I started to memorize the layout of the ship a bit better, because there's a map thing, but it's a little bit clunky. I didn't really get on the UI how to like bring the map up so easily and know where I was and that kind of thing.
So,
but
wait, so you're telling me that you, Grumbles the dwarf, initiated a conversation about how to communicate and be in agreement about what terms mean, and then successfully put them to use?
Mostly.
I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yeah, I tried. So I know it doesn't always seem like it, but I actually do have a lot of experience in that area. It's just that I don't always it just depends on the context and the scenario. I don't always manage to. My brain's not in that particular gear. But yeah, so we kind of got that done. And once we got that, I wouldn't say we took it seriously, but we got a little bit like, let's have a bit more fun by being a bit better at this as a group. And we started to really get a handle on it. And a couple of the players like Arcar are like, basically the other three are like very good in their own ways at what they do. And I'm kind of there for comic relief, I suppose. So, but I started to feel like not completely useless, and
that's always good.
Yeah, and that made me a lot. So the second half of it, I felt a lot more like relaxed and So Barotrauma, and now I'm kind of like, I don't want to play it all the time, but I've got that little itch of like this. We're talking about having another session, or maybe there's like a few others where you'd have to have that level of trust and that understanding or whatever, where you're not going to get all sweaty at each other. I couldn't play it with somebody who was like, oh, we're going to lose this mission kind of thing. Like in a fun way, sure, but not in a, let's not go beyond the fact that it's just pixels. But I think if you get, and also the other thing I'd like to do is like do it as a little bit of light-hearted RP, because imagine, and I know it's always the go-to, but imagine either Skinny Pete and Bobo or Ivan and Dingus in Barotrauma being ordered around by somebody and then just like doing their best.
Oh, that poor captain. Oh,
yeah,
no.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty damn funny. Captain, there's a hole on ship. And the captain be like, where is the hole, Ivan? On ship, front bit, I think. You could just imagine that kind of being like, okay, I'm going to need a little bit more information. What are you doing? So firstly, was the hole there before you got there? Or since, that? So I think that could be, Barotrauma, it could be a lot of fun. We definitely need more time to check out the full 1.0 release, because it kind of released halfway through our stream.
Oh, okay.
So we had to kind of stop and then restart. But it had a cool system with the saves and everything and all your gear. Even though we were in a hosted session from one of the other players, it still had retained all of our, like, what levels we'd got up to and the gear we had bought and, to the last save point or whatever. So it's kind of like, it might be like, well, of course. But I was a little bit surprised that it had that. That sort of capability. So it was pretty cool. But it's another one of those games like that I wouldn't have imagined that I would have really played. Like I'd have always been a bit intrigued but never really had a go at or something. And it turns out that, again, falling into that sort of, if you cooperate well and have some fun together, it really starts to shine. And we didn't even get that far. We were doing like the campaign, so we didn't get that far into it because we'd have like success or horrible failure. Okay, success, horrible failure. So because when, if you take the wrong, let's say in air quotes, the wrong mission, like we took a lot of attack missions with like one of the really weak unupgraded subs at the beginning, like, sure, we can do this, how difficult could it be? And we're like, okay, we just got our teeth punched in. Or punched out. It is, you can set yourself up for failure or you can set yourself up to progress. And but I think, again, bunch of people kind of thrown together in that scenario for the first time, it was pretty solid.
Good, we like that. We like that. And speaking of solid, let's whip a horse again, shall we?
Yeah.
The horse alert, everybody. We're once again going to be talking about ads on Twitch, because once again Twitch have made some changes. They've made some good changes, and they've made some changes I'm kind of skeptical about, but I also see the good in them. Long story short, the ad incentive program has baffled us for a long time, and of course, right after we started kind of gathering numbers and thinking of going through them to see if we can make some sense out of them, they go ahead and change the game on us. They've made it easier to do this, because now it's simply 3 different bulks of ads you can run. I think it's 3, 4, and 6, or 3, 4, and 5. I can't remember, but it is simply put a chunk of ads that you run. but you are not tied into any set amount of hours anymore, which is one of the biggest and best changes they've made. Where like, let me have a look at my screen here. It says and you can jump in and out of it no matter what. But they're prorated or prorated, all depending on how you say it. But my ad revenue estimate, it says here, is based on 99 hours of streaming in April. So they're more honest about how much it can affect. But 3, 4, and 6 minutes is what I have here. But it still feels like the initial ad incentive program was meant to get us into, we can just run ads and we'll get money. And now they're kind of changing it back to us just being used to running ads. That's where my head is going with this. But it could be that they're actually listening to creators. But I'd like still to be able to run manual ads and still be part of the program, but it's up to me to make sure that I fill those hours or those segments that is needed, you know? So we're getting there. But yeah, what do you think? Like, are you happy with this, or what's up?
Yeah, so I am happy with it as a iterative like progression of the overall incentive program. I mean, first, the usual thing. If we could do it without ads, we'd do it without ads.
Yeah.
Or if we could do it without intrusive ads, little panels underneath, that kind of thing.
Yes,
awesome. But in the context of what it is and where we've come from, I like this change because it feels, I think it is, but people could like deep dive it or contradict whatever. That's fine. But for me, it feels more flexible. I feel like they've made it simpler to understand. Like some of the elements are just reiterations or different wordings to kind of how it was working before, and others are like new facets to it. But overall, they've made it more flexible and simpler to understand, and that for me equals that it's less stressful. And less stressful for a broadcaster that already has 1,000,001 things going on in their head at all times is a good thing. So I like that. I'm happy to, applaud them on this, and I don't see this as like we're done now. I'm slightly concerned that Twitch will be like, we're done now with this one, but I'd like to see it be another step of flexibility where you could do it in different, size chunks or whatever. And not have to dance around this whole like the pre-rolls and all that kind of stuff. But again, in the context of where we've come from to where we are now, a lot better, big step in the right direction for me. And we'll have to see. I feel a lot more comfortable as a broadcaster now, knowing that I've got this hourly schedule. I don't have pre-rolls because of the hourly schedule, and I run 3 minutes. And if I go to make, I might only have a break every 2 hours, but in any case, I can often, it doesn't always work with the role play, but I can often line up with when that break's coming, or it gives me more of a hint to do it. And I don't, previously I was running every 30 minutes to avoid the pre-rolls.
Yeah.
And that was too much. That felt really immersion breaking and disruptive for me as a broadcaster. So
yeah, I was going to say that because that's another change they've made. Because you used to have to run 1.5 minutes every 30 minutes in order to get rid of pre-rolls. But now, if you run 3 minutes on top of the hour, every hour, pre-rolls are off.
Yep.
And that is one of the biggest things I feel like they've actually listened to us creators. Because sometimes the ads come at the worst timing ever. Like, somebody asks a question, and then you start answering, and there we go, ad.
Yep.
Or something is about to happen, and ad. oh my god, and this is why I want manual ads, but at least I know now it'll be one every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm still working on fine tuning a thing that I've set up for my streamer bot, where it warns me 15 minutes left, and then 5 minutes left, and yeah, now we can run ads again or whatever. So I'm gonna test it out a couple of days now to see if running it automated with that timer on, that it then lets me know that yeah, these things are in effect as such, and if I'm able to make things better for myself and for the crew, then yeah, I think I can go back to automated. But you know, still, give me no ads, please.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just part of the overall business model, and the ad revenue is just something they obviously can't afford to turn down. So yeah, I get it. And it's still a lot less than television. So.
You know what? Being partner should be an ad-free perk. Straight up, honestly. Because out of the 3 million streaming channels that actually stream on Twitch, 70,000 of them are partner, but 2.97 million of them are affiliate or non-affiliate. Run ads on everyone else.
Yeah, we've I mean, one thing I think that we get, I'm not sure, we'd have to check with an affiliate, or I'd have to check my bot account or something, but we certainly have on our partner settings the ability to turn ad-free viewing on for subscribers at least.
Yes.
I don't think affiliates have that, but I don't remember.
They do. That's
do have
part
that
of
as well.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which again, that makes sense, right? So I tend to agree with you on that. That's something I'd have to think through a little bit more, but I feel like we've had this conversation before. I'm really a fan and appreciate affiliates getting like a big leg up and a lot of the help that they've had, like bringing things closer to partner. The flip side is I feel like there isn't necessarily enough differentiation of like what's the overall benefit of partner. I feel like the benefit of partner to me is you know, is beyond just the few settings and here and there, the split stuff. The most important aspect is just having that check mark, which gives you that bit of recognition. So and enables you to then build your channel in like different ways. Shouldn't necessarily be like that, but let's be honest, you know, brands, sponsorships and all that kind of thing, they're taking a risk in any kind of business agreement with you, or both parties are taking a risk. So it gives that extra degree of confidence, I suppose. So yeah, that could be a thing there to make the advert, or maybe it'd be the thing in like the kind of ads and the way you can run them, or where you get to steer a little bit, at least the categories, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what? I like that idea.
Yeah, so I think I do feel like partner, there could be a few more things they could do to make partner like a fuller package, as it were, but
I'll give your partner a fuller pack. Sorry, I'd
already formulated and started that line, and I was like, okay, this one's gonna get me. But okay, but yeah, overall, I think again,
that could be a cool idea, actually.
Yeah. I just think there's a few things that they could do. They could throw a few more dogs, a few more bones here and there. But that said, I do think it's a positive thing, and it allows you to. I think we've talked about this in other podcasts before. It's that thing of, it allows you to then take your next steps on your journey and make more of your opportunity as a broadcaster. The same with the affiliate status.
Definitely.
But you know, affiliate is ultimately pretty damn easy to achieve in relative, you know, in the grand scheme of things. if you're not making like really silly mistakes in that. And I hope nobody feels stung by that if they haven't achieved that, but it's really not that difficult if you just, you know, look at these are the 5 things you should do those things and you'll get there. Trust me, have confidence. I like that the partner thing is a little bit more difficult, although there's nuance to all of that as well. And some things it seems to happen like really suddenly and easily, and other things you're like, why isn't this a thing? Surely, you know, almost feel like some places where, like a very good friend of mine, where Twitch should just reach out and say, look, you know, we understand you've applied before, it didn't work out, whatever, but look, you're clearly doing all the things. Go. And I know that's not how it works, but I feel a little bit like there should be an element of the service that's like that. But yeah, I do feel like that there's not enough granularity. Either they're missing a step in between, like a different status in the middle, or they should, you know, enhance either both or at least the partner one to say, okay, this is what this means. Because there is another step beyond, which is like the differently contracted stuff and all that. But that's why do you have to have these extremes of like, you know, the entry level, the affiliate, fairly easy to reach, then that kind of that feel of that grind or whatever that for the majority of people to get to the partner status, like you said, the numbers wise, it's very small percentage. And then you've got the dream of like the contract and the ambassador or whatever somewhere down the line.
One day maybe we'll be head of the roost on Twitch. That would be cool.
I mean, the flip side of it is I like it in terms of I don't look at it as like some sort of big privilege or anything. I mean, there is a degree of that, but I look at it as like, wow, they've really like researched, they've understood that person, they've engaged, they've written up a contract with them, agreed the terms, and well, like, you know, it feels professional and kind of appropriate to me. Rather than that feeling of like, I've seen a few broadcasters without naming names where it's like, you can just tell there's that sense of like, how do I put it? Like, there's a phrase I'm looking for and my brain's not giving to me, but that feeling of like, you know, I deserve to have this or whatever. It's like, hang on a minute.
Entitlement.
Yeah, that's it. Entitlement. It's like, no, that's not how.
If you have that attitude, you do not deserve it. That's how
you got to pay your dues and that kind of thing. Sometimes it's funny when I see like. Anyway, I'm not going to say any more than that because if I say certain keywords or whatever, it'll stand out and people will look for it. But I've seen a little bit of entitlement and in a couple of channels, and it's like, why would you do that? Why would you just assume that you should get a thing?
I'm now humming the lyrics to a certain pop song that was very popular a few years ago, where the lyrics went something like, "Sit down, be humble." You know, is that thing? It's kind of popping into my head, but yeah. Oh God, my desk is falling apart. It really isn't. No. It's just me fidgeting with small elements that's on my desk, and
you literally have a fidget toy. Stop.
I have fidget toys. I know. I also have a spring that keeps bouncing away from me, but I'm picking up my fidget toy now. I will use it. Good. I'll try not to use the clicky parts and such. I'll just use the ball bearing. It's nice. It's silent. It stimulates my mind. Anyway. A lot of people are speculating that we're going to see some changes in Twitch with the CEO of Twitch resigning not long ago. He was the last remaining of the original founders. There's a lot of controversy around this person. I'm not going to read their letter for exiting Twitch. I'm not going to go through what people have said about how this affects them or how they like what they leave Twitch with doing and such. It's enough points out there to speculate on, but one thing I want to talk about is a lot of people are kind of saying, oh, he made these decisions and then he leaves it to the next guy to be announced. No. A lot of you will be also aware that Twitch have had a less than successful year, or less than speculated successful year. They were aiming way higher because of COVID, and the numbers skewed it for them, and as it did for a lot of us, did for me too, in regards to content creation. So it's yeah, they're forced to make some changes. I think it's about 400 people have been let go from Twitch. How this will affect the platform, I don't think it will. I think we're gonna pretty much see the same sort of idea go forward, but we might see some changes, and hopefully some changes for the better with new CEOs coming in. Maybe some faces and names that have ideas that allow the content creators to prosper, because let's face it, it is a mutual relationship here. Twitch will not be making money without any of the content creators bringing viewers in that can view the ads and can pay for the subs and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna link the letter from the CEO of Twitch. That's like 16 years. That's a long running time.
Yep.
So I'll leave a link to the letter, and people can read through that if they want. But I like. Do you think we're gonna see a big change in Twitch as a part of this, or?
Honestly, I'm not really well enough informed to make a clear statement. On a general level, when you see this in business, it usually means that it really depends a lot on the personalities and stuff, and the pressures whoever's really in charge or steering them, like boards or investors and that kind of thing. I don't know how much influence Amazon sort of puts on them and that kind of thing. So, I mean, clearly the focus will still continue to be on sort of revenue or profit margins and stuff like that. I'm really interested to see, because they've started to do quite a bit better on communication. Mm-hmm. Still quite a long way to go in terms of like, this is some new stuff, this is cool, this is what we're changing, this is how this affects you. So a lot of their communication, some of their communication is good, and some of it is very much like almost like clickbait, like look at this or check out these channels, and it's like, what? I'm literally a broadcaster on your platform and a partner agreement with you. Why? What? I mean, if you're going to do that, you could at least do that differently in a more digestible way, perhaps. But I don't mind, like, here's a community spotlight, here's a, whatever. But the way they do it in their emails and stuff is very like, and no, just delete. This feels like spam, So, and then other times there'll be a thing that's a really cool feature, and it'll just be like the app feature where it was like almost buried. Like you had to be lucky to spot that one. Could have easily just been away for a week and missed it, and missed the memo, and then missed out on like one of the best features they've implemented since I've been on the platform or service. I'm optimistic because I want to be, or I choose to be optimistic, and hope that they have put people in that at the helm know how to steer things and kind of keep things on the right track or make adjustments. Obviously, the layoffs are sad. It's always sad when things like that happen, but there's always a reality to it. Hopefully they've identified the right areas and the right personnel to retain and motivate, so that they can strengthen their product, enhance it with better features, bug fix things that need fixing, that kind of thing, and hopefully they pay attention to their sort of communications and kind of just sharpen that up a little bit and make it more consistent. So optimism at this point. And then 3 months down the line, we'll get the first inkling, and sort of 6 or 9 months down the line, we'll get a feeling of, okay, this is kind of where this is going. That's all you can do really, is give them a bit of time, give them some breathing space. I don't want to be one of those people that's like always only positive about it. Call out things that I don't enjoy or whatever. We've done that consistently, but I'm also not someone who likes to go around just with a hammer, just bashing them for the sake of it. What's the point of that? So,
we'll see where this leads. I'm definitely optimistic because seeing some of the changes they have made recently, it leads me to believe that yes, they want content creators to thrive, and we're not talking necessarily the things that viewers see, but there's a lot going on in the background where they're making it easier for themselves to maintain stuff and keep Twitch rolling as such. So yeah, no, they are making changes, but they are also breaking stuff, sadly, because I just had this idea or thought pop into my head, because they recently dropped a part of their API, and it's the part of their API that brings the names of all the people that are in a raid. They've removed that. So for those of you who've been part of a raid going into Painzor's channel, he used to have one tiny little airplane go across the screen with the name of the viewer as in accordance to how many people came in. And they've, like, if he gets rated by, the official channel of World of Warships, there's 8,000 names going across the screen, lagging his computer and everything. It's always fun. Always fun. But, it's this, it's that thing they've recently removed. And I think that is why we're seeing that X% of people have been left behind in raids for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. Sack Buzzy talked about it. He's noticed it. We've noticed it. Yeah, and for me, it is actually kind of consistent with who is left behind. For instance, if I raid, my brother or my moderator, Paul, he gets left behind, and Frank gets left behind. Frankaboom, who's also a moderator of mine, but none of them are running any mods or anything, like the BTTV or such, but still getting consistently left behind from a raid. So, have you noticed any consistency in it?
I've noticed that it's consistently happening, and it's really frustrating and stressful. It feels like it's sort of 25% or so of the viewers or whatever. I don't know the exact numbers, and it does seem to vary occasionally from time to time. Like one time you'll do a raid and it'll seem like it's mostly working, and then another time, but most of the time I would say it's not working properly. It feels like it's been happening for about 4 to 6 weeks, but I don't know again precisely. I know that Twitch actually posted their own support messages about the topic and that they're still investigating. Their initial findings, or suspicions I should say, not findings, but their initial suspicions were either unsupported types of clients, such as smart TVs and things like that handle chat and so forth differently, or people that had chat hidden, or what they call long sessions, although they didn't explain what that meant. But the testing and the sort of responses back from a lot of people kind of negate most of that. Possibly, but even if it was that, it would probably be some people that are more technically familiar with this stuff are like, well, that would be probably quite easy to tweak in the code and change. So either someone changed it, and if they're saying they didn't change anything, then where did this come from? But there's definitely, I think you might be onto something there, because there's definitely been quite a few inconsistencies with with bots not working or having to be reprogrammed and those kind of things, and that sounds relevant. The other one that springs to my mind is they released for me, quite an odd little feature that I haven't really fully understood yet, called the letting people share their viewing streak.
Yeah, like that one confused me.
Yeah,
like,
I don't get it.
I was sitting in Dino's chat the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and then a little message popped up, and hey, you are on a viewing streak. Click here to let Dino and the mods know. I'm like, click.
Yeah.
And then it shows up in chat for everyone. I'm like, that didn't know. Let Dino and the mods know, and let everyone know.
I think I think what's really important here is that they haven't concluded their investigation fully. I'm a bit frustrated that, again, another topic of communication. It took them a while to pick it up. It took a lot of people banging the drum, and like we were messaging Zach to let him know our experiences, and other people were doing the same. And it was like, okay, now it's finally got a bit of momentum because some of the people that they respect and obviously pay attention to mentioned it. But it shouldn't have to necessarily be like that. Although I'll be honest, I didn't raise a support ticket on it either, in hindsight. But that's also, it should. That's the kind of thing I think they should have some kind of monitoring or some sort of visibility on. It can't take too long to recognize even one or two of the larger viewership channels or whatever, where it's like, it happened to me even today, right? You're sitting there with whatever it was, 120, 30 people or whatever, just as a random number, and then you raid with like whatever we went out with, like 99 or something.
Yeah, and that's a significant amount of people gone from raid.
So it's sad as the broadcaster, because you want to, raiding is one of the best ways to help people discover and find new places that they can have fun in and continue their entertainment and whatnot. And it's going to put a smile and give some confidence boost to the recipient of the raid. It might scare them if it's a small, but generally speaking, it's a really, really powerful and an important engagement tool that we have at our disposal, and it's something that we can do as a community of streamers and broadcasters to support one another. And if you literally, and it's been happening to me, like, again, all week, it's every single raid I've done, I'm losing, like, again, whatever the number is. But if you lose, it doesn't really matter how many it is, but if you're losing 10, 20, 30 people or whatever, or more, that's, another 30 follows that might have join the other channel, or people that might have been chatting that might find a new product or a new stream or the combination that they really enjoy. And that just is really sad. We've tried doing like a second raid afterwards. That'll pick up like 2 or 3 like stragglers somehow, but it's not worth doing, because actually you just confuse the recipient, because they're like, why am I being raided by you twice? And and then you've got to explain, well, we're trying to combat this issue and that, but it doesn't really seem to help. So we've tried that, and we're trying to, at the moment, it seems to be like, well, let's tell everybody we're going on a raid. So we put an extra shout out with the / shout out in, so that they get the link and they can follow directly if they want to, that kind of thing. So we're saying, look, this is where we're going. Just in case you fall off the train, the raid train, that's where we're going. Please come along and see you. But then what about your lurkers and all that kind of thing, or people that just can't get to the buttons in time? I think it's just, it's a real pity, because it's, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is you go somewhere where somebody's just started out, or they're on, 50 people or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, let's go and hit them up with, we've just been RPing all day with them. Let's take 100 people over there, say thank you for being fun and enjoy the rest of your day, kind of thing. And they might go from 50 followers to 69 or 100 or whatever, and you can't do it because you can't get enough people to go along on it. So yeah, something's broken. They are looking into it. Investigation's not concluded yet. Zach and a bunch of people have done lots of testing and shared their results and information, and at the moment it just seems to be, let everybody know where you're going, ask people to refresh if they can. Not a lot you can do about lurkers, which is a huge backbone of a lot of viewership, in a positive way. And hopefully they'll find what it was and either roll back something they broke or find a fix for it. Because that will, like, now it's a frustration and a little bit stressful, but over time that will have quite a devastating effect, because if you take 25% of everybody's viewerships that are then raiding and moving on to support one another, and you cut 25% each time, that's not a good feeling.
Nope,
it's
not.
And I'll give you an example. I know I'm harping on a little bit on the point, but I'll give you an example. Got some friends that are...
It's not dead yet, sorry.
Yeah, I've got some friends that are playing games that are quite new to them. They've got their established communities and their viewership, but it's, always a question of, do their regular audiences want to tune in and watch those things, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have a bit of a dip because you've changed the game and people are like, I really wanted to see that other thing that they're doing, right? So then you get an opportunity to raid them and say, oh, let's take 150 people over there because we're having a good day and things have been good to us. There's lots of people here. Let's go over there. And then, for simplicity's sake, you lose half of them.
Yeah.
And then you want to give your friends that confidence and that boost and say, look, stick at it. And I know this might not be the thing yet, but your people will come round. People, there's lots of things that go into those numbers. And here's a big chunk of people, and maybe half of them will still be there in a couple of hours' time because, people drift off or it's the end of their session or whatever. And you can't, that's hurting that even, and that one really stings me because that's then people and trust and enjoy and respect, and you want to give them that boost and give them that confidence to keep plugging away at things because you think they're onto something or that they're growing into it.
Yeah.
And they people will back away, and that will damage products. That will damage, the knock-on effects are quite severe. So I hope they get on top of this really quickly.
Let's hope so. In a quick mention, though, to things they have made better for us, they have given us access to more statistics, easier to read statistics, more functions to work through, and tools to understand our own data and what works on our own channel. So I just want to say thank you to Twitch for doing that, because our creator dashboard is getting better and better, both in regards to revenue, but also in regards to viewing averages, like how long are they staying, when are we seeing activity, and so on and so forth. And that, for those who really want to get into this, you are going to want to sit down and learn these tools, because it's gonna help you understand about your own content creation road. So just very quickly say thank you for that.
Yep, good work, Twitch. It's really good.
And I don't have a segue. So I'm just gonna roll with it. Know your role.
Don't worry, listeners. We'll workshop that segue next week.
Oh gods. Honestly, I've been on top of my segue game for so long. It had to happen. A dip had to come, but I managed it with a pun, so we're fine. We're fine. We talked a bit about Vintage Story earlier. And now we're gonna kind of talk about Vintage Story, because you've been playing a lot of it as an RPer, like the you mentioned it, the origins of Barovia as such, and I, one of the things that makes Vintage Story a good RP game, like many other RP games, is that it has support of VoIP that has proximity support. And not only that, it can be tweaked. Unlike other games that we'll probably mention in a tiny bit. But yeah, tell me why it works so well with Vintage Story.
So, first and foremost, initially, or the game itself doesn't have VoIP capability, to my knowledge, but there is mod support out there, or extensions. Specifically, the one we're using is Mumble. I want to also give a shout out to Joker and a number of other people in Cletus's and the TLS community. I'm not sure of all the names, so forgive me for not knowing precisely, but they actually did some modifications and stuff and updates to make it like just run really correctly. I know Jack Lee Fear was involved with a lot of the settings and experience of Mumble and Good Technical, and he did a user guide to get all set up and use that. So shout out to those folks and anyone else that was involved. But yeah, we initially started using Discord, and Discord, and anything similar doesn't really work for immersive roleplay because you naturally are constantly in a room with each other, hopping between rooms. Everyone just forgets. So you just can't really use it for proper. You can use it if it's a small group of friends just doing some cooperative gameplay together, but you can't use it really for unless you got like some real hardcore role players. It's very difficult to use that for ad hoc role play. So we found a way to bring Mumble into it. Actually, shout out to Tyrion and the folks who develop the game and a lot of the mod team, because they immediately responded as well, and Cletus was in touch with them and they were like, you need this, and you're gonna like big up the game and broadcast it to lots of people. We're on it. And like over the first weekend that we went live with the RP server, by the end of that weekend we had Mumble and we had a VoIP system in place. So
nice.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we've got some stuff here. Look, we'll give you what we've got and you can have a look at it and that. And then our team had to make some tweaks and whatnot, and there's the result. It works so well. I've never used Mumble before. I've heard of it, and it's been thrown in different contexts before, and I just never used it. And I have to say, it works so smoothly and consistently. The shortcomings are, at least the way we have it configured, we haven't really worked out like a lobby system. So like on our TeamSpeak here, where you come into the lobby and everyone's muted and that, and then you can find your way and depend on your permissions and that. In the Mumble, we've just got it like, bang, there's the Mumble room, and you're all in there. So everyone has to be well behaved until they've started the game and created the link between the game and Mumble so that the proximity's in. Otherwise, you're talking and listening to everybody across the server.
Suddenly you're God.
Yeah. So it didn't take long to kind of train everybody, but there was a little bit of a learning curve there, and we're going to work on, we intend to like have a lobby system going forward when we do a proper first season. So
I can say, as somebody who has ran a Murmur, which is the server part of Mumble, because Mumble is the client, the rights and administration of it, super simple, and we're literally talking like, give somebody a token code that they need to apply in order to have rights to enter the actual room.
Right.
That's all. Like, okay. We're almost talking a password kind of thing here, but then like it's so simple, it's so straightforward, as opposed to TeamSpeak, which has almost Active Directory level. No, you know what? Actually, worse than Active Directory level of administration. So here, that's a shout to anybody who has ever worked with Active Directory. I feel ya. I've been there. So yeah, that now you know.
Yeah, now I know. Yeah. So in any case, for the client side, it was simple. It was just the Mumble client, a few little clicks here and then, and configuration settings for our desired setup. And as you said, I've actually tweaked mine ever so slightly, just to change the drop off from like 1 meter was the recommended setting to 2 meters, just so that it wasn't like I have to stand right on top of your toes all the time kind of thing. But I think that's the only thing that I've really changed. I'm
going to have a conversation with you inside your ear. Yeah,
but it's been very effective. Like, you can still, there's a few little things like, the directional audio and that kind of thing, but you're going to get that. And if I contrast that with other experiences we've had, like Atlas, and even Eco, so they were both relying, I think, on Vvox services, which is a paid for like additional VoIP add-on. The games and game server runners can kind of pay money to utilize. Eco, the voice, for whatever reason, the changes on the Vvox end or whatever it is, but it kind of let us down for this last season. If we're really frank about it, it hurt us quite a lot. There was a mixture of like the usual challenges you have where like on the vertical axis, there's no differentiation. So you're talking over each other without realizing it because someone's in a room above you, that kind of thing. But it was more than that. There was like a little bit of bleed, and there was some weird stuff going on. And on Atlas, the last season, we had quite a lot of challenges, and you basically had this issue of like you're kind of, you're in range or at random words would bleed through within a certain radius.
Yeah, you'd get
so we had
blips.
to build like. Yeah, let's put this at the other end of this dock so that there's no way anybody's going to be talking anywhere near each other and that kind of thing. And they got quite a clever system with like a whisper level and different ranges and stuff. And Red Dead has similar. I have to say the built-in Red Dead audio worked better, more consistently most of the time than
but
the VVox thing.
We're literally talking a giant developer as in Rockstar. They have money to throw at these things.
That's true.
But yeah, no, it's like Grape Shot that took over the development of Atlas. I think they might be running into money issues, because seeing some of their answers to Venilus that has kind of headed up the contact with them in regards to the last season of Atlas, like seeing some of their answers regarding no, it costs too much, and as like they just kind of bundle it in with it being an economic issue, leads me to believe that they might be in deep water. No pun intended.
Yeah. I absolutely concur, because like you said about Rockstar and all the rest of it, right? Obviously they struck gold with their two big products and whatnot, but ultimately they developed really, really good games, good stories, good, they went all in and it worked out for them. And I know as an outsider to it, and I've not developed games and all that kind of thing, but there's got to be, and I know there's a whole lot of things that they probably did horribly wrong and whatever, but you got to look at these things and kind of pick them apart a bit. And if you're in development and publishing, and say, okay, what are some of the things we need to try and emulate a little bit, or maybe we can't reach that level or surpass it, but we can at least strive for these should be our goals. And I mean, Grape Shot and Atlas for me, I was the other day. I don't want to like say anything that might get us in trouble or whatever, but I feel like, and this is just really loose opinion, whatever. But it feels almost to me like it's almost like they don't like their own product and they're trying to kill it, because the things they develop in terms of content are, I know this is subjective, but I think a lot of the community that play the game, and I know predominantly that's role players, but it's not just role players. People are like, why are you developing that? Why that's not interesting at all. Rideable dolphins and odd looking ships that, why would you want to even have that ship? It's so ugly, and it might give you a mechanical benefit, but you're going to be like, anyway. So they've done a lot of that. They've got a long, proven, sad track record of developing, and it's kind of like the money they do have, they're spending on things that, who cares? And then they're not doing the bug fixing, and I know that's always an easy one to bring up, because
they're spending their money on hookers. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, it's pirates. They lose hands a lot. Hey.
Yeah. I think, like, if I were to gamble a bit on this, we're probably talking that Grape Shot, they took off after, like, because the initial idea was that this was a mod to Ark that took off on its own. So I think the scope just became too big, honestly.
Yeah, it's decision making, isn't it? And maybe a lack of creational direction or whatever. So I don't know, because it's been many years and there's probably all sorts of changes, and some things got a bit better over time and whatnot. But I think you're right. Now you try and put it up against, I mean, in terms of like fun factor and seeing a vision and how people want to develop their game, you're seeing better things coming out of like 1 to 10 people teams. And I don't know the scale of Grape Shot, but I imagine it's significantly more than that. Then you are seeing out of some of these kind of middle to larger groups. And I mean, this latest one, without misspeaking and whatever, but in a nutshell was like, well, this whole VVox thing is costing quite a lot of money, so let's just not have that anymore, which was VOIP was there specifically, I think, or predominantly to take care of the cross-platform console to PC communication. And they kind of went back to like what they had, but they'd kind of forgotten that at some point after they'd implemented VOIP, they'd kind of removed most of their voice, or at least deactivated or something. And now their interim solution is they've reactivated what they've got, and it works in a way that you could be at the northernmost end of one grid, and when you speak, somebody that's down south will hear you because it doesn't have proximity or what. I don't know. I don't understand all the ins and outs of it, but that's the general gist of it. So they went from like, well, not going to, like you said, the financial aspect and like how bad is the ship leaking in that sense, because they decided we don't want to pay these monthly fees for VOIP, so we're switching that off. We'll fall back to our solution. Then we'd already, didn't somebody know what that they'd like turn that off or whatever? And then they went to like switching on a workaround, which was like everyone can hear everyone all the time. And Darkside are doing their best because of I know a little while back, a year or two, they'd started work on the fundamental work on their own voice system because they were getting irritated with the VOIP and the direction that the VoIP from the game side was taking. But then they shelved it because they're like, well, this is probably enough, and it's money, and what do you want to focus on? Yeah. So now they've had to suddenly grab that and say, oh my God, let's try and, because we're trying for this, final big season, big hurrah, and then take stock of where the game's going and what we want to do next. And it's such a big thing for them, like numbers wise and purchases of the game and all that. I'm not saying it's everything, but it's a huge portion of Atlas is when the roleplay communities kick in. And they've done other things before. They cut down the number of PvE servers to a really small number to try and save money, and it's all the same thing. It's cost cutting, and ultimately when I step back and I look at it, and maybe unfortunately I've also been blessed with the experience of lots of other games in the meantime, it just doesn't, with using all these water ones, it doesn't hold water. The game itself is just not good enough.
Yeah, no.
It's why? So you can't attract new people in, because how are you going to show them that game? Like, you'd really have to almost, your trailer would have to be so good that people would be like, wow, look at that, I can do all of this.
Yep.
And then you're going to get that game and you're going to be like, what? Hang on. Again, I'm trying to be careful, pick my words and not say anything that could get us in trouble, but it's a very sad story. So they just don't seem to, they either don't have the decision making capability or rights or whatever it is, but they can't salvage something from that product and make it viable. We're just trying to get them eke the most out of it we can before it goes, I guess.
Yeah, so we'll see if Atlas makes a return for Darkside and others. Honestly, I think I would rather see Darkside just move on to a different game that is less stressful for them and allows quicker access into a world where people can build and enjoy and have fun and role play.
Yep. Somebody needs to buy the rights to the big grid system, and then if that can somehow be ported to other games, that's your win, because that's really the key thing that Atlas has going for it, is that huge grid system.
I mean, we're literally talking server clustering.
Yeah, but it's like it works consistently.
That's true. That's true. But
you don't like, why doesn't Red Dead have that kind of thing? Why doesn't there's this? It's
man. I just had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Server clustering, like Conan has it, by the way. You can cluster on Conan. You can cluster on Ark too.
Mm-hmm.
But having server clustering with the world of Red Dead, where you literally have instances that is for each county, or oh my god, the massiveness.
Yeah, we were talking about this when we were
wow.
RPing in it in the beginning. I was like, imagine if you could, I think people would take like a 10-20 second load time to go to like Guam, or to go, you've probably got some load. That's a bad example, but to go to like, West Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Because who cares if you're riding in a posse, you just wait for the little crossing. I know there's a bit of immersion break, but to have then 100 people in West Elizabeth, as opposed to like there might be 50 people on the whole server or 100 people.
Yeah.
And it might be behaving.
And then suddenly you have the re-immersion and the spreading of Shimmer stories.
Exactly. You get that aspect to it, but just the ability to be able to role play with that many more people. So
yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah, but it would be. So the last thing I want to just say on the VoIP before I forget it is, if you're out there and you're developing games, or you're working in these areas, or you've got any sort of word in anybody's ear, no matter what games or we've mentioned or haven't mentioned, have a look at, and again, if you technically sound in this and you might know better, or why it would or wouldn't work or whatever, that's all fine. But honestly, just looking at what we've achieved with Vintage Story and Mumble and Murmur or whatever else is involved, have a look at that. And if you're working and involved in that in any way, or you can pass it on to a friend of a friend or whatever, get people to look at that kind of system and develop in that direction. Because honestly, a lot of products going forward, there's more and more multiplayer, more cooperative or competitive, PvP or mixtures. I think that's a big thing of where the world's going, because it's harder and harder, I think, and financially difficult to write really, really solid, like full single player story. Not to say, there's still loads out there, but if you look at the way things are going, people are starting to, it feels like there's a subtle shift towards, let's play games with friends.
Yeah.
It's going from a video game era of like a lot of single player and story with an audience to like, hey, imagine if there was like 2 of us doing this together. Imagine if there was like 4 of us doing this, and and I feel like the revenues out there for people, the potential for developers and that of bringing more communities together to play along with things together. I think of like Valheim, for example, with no VoIP at the beginning. It has Mumble support in the meantime. So another example. Just look at that and maybe just get Mumble integrated or compatible with your as a starting point or something. I don't know what that costs or what that would mean, and technically in that.
Mumble as a server is technically free to host.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not sure about the limitation about how many people can be on it. There used to be something there, but yeah, it's not very expensive. But
if like developers and publishers and whatnot are listening and think about this on any sort of level, think about the because a lot of it, I hate this word like influencers, right? But you're content creators and advertising and all these things intrinsically linked with each other, and you're wanting, and a lot of the reason we can do the stuff we do on Twitch, because technically copyrighted content in most cases for the games and whatnot, is it's possible in part because they know that works to multiply if this person's enjoying it and putting that across to their audience of 100 people watching, 30 of them might buy it or whatever, right? So look, and that happens enough as it is, but look at how much more that amplifies and magnifies significantly when it's like, we could all play this together.
Yeah.
Me and my buddies could play this and we could be talking to each other, and whether you want to role play or not is not the point, but just being in there and being immersed in a world together is a phenomenal and so much more rewarding experience for the most part. Yeah, that would be my top tip for people. Don't sleep on the voice.
No, please don't, because one of the first games that I ever tried that I had this was Arma 3, which had a mod that you could add to it, which allowed TeamSpeak to give you the both directional and also proximity. And it was fantastic. So yes, doubling up on what you said, do not sleep on the VoIP. Just a couple of things I want to mention very quickly here. as part of Know Your Role, because I'm trying to figure out a new system for my Generation Zero idea that I want to play. But in doing so, I'm looking at puzzle ideas and story ideas and so on, and through that, a lot of TikToks have popped up with ideas for DMs and so on, and some of them have been sent to me by our own Jurek, and he sent me two this morning, even, where the first one was puzzles in a labyrinth or something like that even the DM doesn't know the answer to. And then you're just kind of waiting for the party to do something that you think is fun enough or fitting enough that you go, yeah, sure. I've done this. I've asked an impossible question to the players, and the players didn't even know, the characters didn't know, and then I was like, you know what? Okay, yeah, they moved the stones around enough. Sure, I'll just let them in now. Like, no logic or reason to it, but it's just, let's just get some ideas going. Let's get the heads turning and churning a bit over this. But another one that I absolutely loved when I saw it, and I will be taking this in. It was talking about, like, it was a question on, I think it was Reddit, that said, tell me your moments when a spot check or something like that failed and added and did nothing for the story. And then somebody brought it up that, okay, yeah, I have a good story here, where somebody wanted to do a spot check, and DM said, yeah. And we're literally talking a 2 and above, and they would spot whatever they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And they rolled a natural 20. So, like, they technically, with it being a 2, they didn't really need a roll at all. But they like, with a nat 20, the DM described this. You go into a trance-like state, seeing your body outside of yourself. And around you, you are surrounded by 5 celestial-like giants on top of a weird hexagonal grid. And there are these dodecahedrons around you. And then you're back in your body. And it took me a moment to realize he just described the players and the battle grid and the dice on the table. I loved that. It added, like, because he couldn't fail. He couldn't really... there's nothing to gain by having a super high roll, but just a tiny bit of spice from the DM there, and I will be using that. like we've all done the thing of a failure, a critical failure on a stealth check or something, where this is a good time to play my bagpipes or whatever, or you see a dragon. There's no dragon. Yeah. Just as you try to do the spot check, you close your eyes. No, it's like, we've all seen those, but I love the idea of adding spice to a critical, like a natural 20 on spot or whatever. Like that was beautiful. That was beautiful. It was. So yeah. What do you think? Will you be using something like that?
I think that's really cool. I do like the idea. I like the idea of I have to think it through and think of some examples in the future, but I do like that idea very much. Just something that's a kind of like a little like a side quest, I was going to say, like a little distraction, and give people something to think about when there's maybe nothing there.
Yeah.
And then it's always fun to see which at what point each of the players works out. Like some will get it immediately.
Yeah.
Like, this is just fluff and nonsense. And others will be like, oh, I wonder what that meant. And it's always nice a little bit like an hour later, one of them, you arrive at the tavern, you're weary, you sit down for a drink, and then you open the floor to them and let them carry on and do whatever they're doing amongst the characters, right? And they start one of them starts a conversation about, what was that dodecahedron thing we were like, I've been thinking about that all the way back. Like,
yeah,
that'd be kind of funny.
Oh, I would love to see that character conversation. It would be beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a weird shape, never seen it in the world before. Oh no, it's a gorgeous idea. Gorgeous idea. So we had a question from the community last time that we simply didn't have time to put in, and it's from Reckless Rat, who asked us, "Have you ever been compared to someone from a film or a movie?" I have two different ones. The first one is, have you seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
No.
Okay. So it's Alan Tudyk and what's this guy? I can't remember the other guy's name, but it's the other guy. Kind of chubby, kind of hairy, a fun guy. I've been compared to him. But when I first shaved my head, somebody came into my channel and said, "Oh, you're like that guy from Vikings, only fat." I was like, "Oh, great. That's wonderful." I'll take it.
Wow, what a way to make an entrance.
Yeah, it's like, and you're like that guy from whatever, only rude.
You're like that guy that ended a channel on Twitch and got banned within the first 3 minutes. You know the one I mean? Oh, you can't reply? Oh, well.
That's strange, that.
Yeah. Bye.
No, it's I love having fun with people coming in and like, "Oh my God, you're fat." I'll then look down and like, "Oh my God, I am. When did that happen?
Holy crap, I must have overeaten at the last break."
Thank you for letting me know. I'll get right on that. That's having fun with people trying to be trolls. It's just removing all power from them. Yeah. How about you? By the way, have you been ever compared or people gone, "Oh, you look like that guy"?
Not really. I've had a few comments of like different vocal things I've done or voices, like, "Oh, that sounds like so and so." I can't remember the name now, but someone said my advertisements announcement sounds like someone specifically. I don't know if it was like a talking clock voice or someone. So like they're like, "That did you do that announcement yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And they're like, "Because that is like exactly the announcement from such and such, like official service or whatever it was." I can't remember the person's name, but I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I was like, "Cool, I'll take that as a compliment if it actually sounds like something professional." So that's the main thing I get is I'll do like a silly little voice here or there, and people are like, "Whoa, that sounded like such and such." But in terms of looks, I guess there's I don't know, not that many people that look like this in celebrity life, which is probably a good thing.
I mean, you've probably had that for yourself. It has been mentioned that I have a face for radio.
Yeah.
I know I have the voice for radio, and I would gladly use it, but yeah. So, by the way, I just want to mention, every time you do Robert Lawless, the guy I'm thinking of instantly is more like it's the adult and maybe not so kid friendly version of Nigel Thornberry.
Nigel Thornberry?
Yes, Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries, which is a Nickelodeon cartoon or animation. And I'm pretty sure if I send you a picture of him, you will go, Oh, I've seen this fellow.
I just looked it up. I don't recollect having seen it, but I love his mustache.
Yeah, so that is the character that comes to mind instantly whenever I hear Robert Lawless. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was down in the jungle. It was a very drunk, you know. That's the person that comes to mind. I don't know why. It's just when you do that voice, it's like, yeah, that's Nigel Thornberry again. Mm-hmm.
I love it. The mustache is absolutely fitting. Actually, I haven't got it to hand, but the picture I've got for my my D&D character in Vampire the Masquerade, he's we'll talk about it next month, but he's called Bobby Flawless, and he's actually a grandchild of Robert.
Nice.
So yeah, and I got a picture that's actually reminds me a little bit, not in that art style, but of that character that you just sent me there. It's funny, the weird similarities in a way. When I find the image in the Roll20, I'll send you it later on.
Nice.
You'll have a chuckle.
Yeah. Speaking of a chuckle,
playing Robert.
Oh yeah, dude, seeing you play Robert and the way you use them and the way you interact with NPCs makes the world seem lived, and it makes me smile.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to play. There's only one slight challenge for me with playing Robert, and that is as soon as I get into that mindset or that voice, it creeps out everywhere. I'll start talking like that, just like even when I do like a YouTube video or something like that, I'm always like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. So it's so easy to slip into that character. It's
yeah, no, Stats has said the same about Ernie. Ernie is starting to pop out wherever, like if he goes to the shops and hello there, it's like, wait, I can't do that. Ernie is these people. I can't do that. I speak in a London accent normally. Oh, balls, you know, he has that thing.
Yeah, where it would be like, where I got a citadel.
Or burn down a castle. Sorry, Stats.
It wasn't me, Stats. I didn't bring it up.
Having a sip of water there to avoid going even further into that subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to have water on hand.
It is, but you're supposed to not have it on your hands unless you're washing them. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. Or putting out a fire, maybe. Anyway.
Or putting out the fire. This is very true.
I think it's speaking of things that make you smile.
Yeah. Tell us about Camp Korey, Hula, Dummaloop, wands and brooms.
Yeah, so this is my big smile. Really just smiling even now thinking about it. Probably people have caught up to this, but there is a wonderful organization called Camp Korey. It's a big old place at about an hour or so north of Seattle in Washington State, US, and they look after, with specialized carers and all sorts of knowledge and facilities. They look after children of varying ages that suffer from severe illnesses and disabilities, that kind of thing, like life-changing, debilitating experiences, and they give them a chance to come and like have a little venture, holiday, whatever within their whatever's comfortable for them, in sort of safe hands, which gives the kids a chance to be kids and enjoy a bit of their life, be positively distracted from things, and gives the parents a chance to kind of step back and relax, because that is, parenting is a full-time job anyway, but arguably the most important thing a lot of people can do or be challenged with the responsibility of. And then that added to the additional medical and health complications, and as part of this, Hula got in touch with a chap called Dummaloop. So it's my good friend Texas Hula was in touch with a chap called Dummaloop, who's on Twitch. The links and all that will be in the doobly-doo below. And they started chatting about a big project that Dummaloop's working on, where they're rebuilding or building a sort of a replica of, and it's really quite incredible, the detail and whatnot of Diagonally, or however you pronounce it, from the Harry Potter films. And they we got to chatting, and Dummaloop said, "Oh, I love the stuff you do with the magic wands and all that. It'd be really cool to do something that's, or more oriented for the kids and that. So not that they're going to poke each other's eyes out and all these kind of things, because kids will be kids." And he said, "How about you do small number of these ones, 5 or 10, and we could put them on display in the shop." And Hula was kind of like, "Heck no. How about we make 1,000 of them so that all the kids can get one of these as like a parting gift, and you can do the whole Harry Potter, where the one chooses the kid and the wizard, and that sort of thing." I'm not a big Harry Potter person, so forgive me if I'm stating it incorrectly or using the wrong terms. And so the plans was like, Dummaloop was like, "You're crazy, man. You got that, that, how much work and whatever that is." And so Hula started reaching out to lots of other creators and people coming on board. And there's a wonderful, the makers and crafters community, and that are just incredible. They like sharing their wood stories amongst each other. And one thing's leading to another, and they're making hundreds and hundreds and up to 1,000 eventually of these ones, and they're all going to be donated to this cause, and they're going to be not only displayed there, but then the kids will have a chance to kind of pick the one that, and just imagine the smile that puts, you go to this diagonal alley, you get the whole Harry Potter, people cosplaying, people playing the teachers and all this. They had people cosplaying like the Snapes and all these other, is that, I think that's the right word. Yeah.
Severus Snape. Yeah.
Yeah, so I nearly said Snoke, and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's a different,
slightly different,
slightly
different universe.
And just imagine that then the kid gets to pick the one that feels like a good match for them, and take that home and treasure that and have that for the rest of their childhood and their life, and talk about that with all their friends, family, and so forth. Just beautiful thing. And they did a charity stream, and Hula's original target was $1,000.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know. And we all feel this way. We're always like, I don't want to really be explicitly asking for money, even if it's for a good cause. But there's this feeling of I don't know, man, times are hard and life is life. And, but we do these things because we believe in the cause and we want to help people and stuff. And it's a good opportunity to do that as broadcasters and connect to different audiences and things that maybe wouldn't get the chance or be able to connect in normally. So anyway, he's like, no, heck no, come on, you need to go big or go home kind of thing. So it ended up, I think, being 5K or something. So if you hit 4 or 5K or something, I will make so Dummaloop, one of the other things he does is he makes the Nimbus,
the
9000 or whatever
the
it's
flying
called.
brooms for the Quidditch
the flying brooms for the So he makes replicas and they're all hand carved, and
they
each
amazing.
one's unique. And
oh my god!
You have your name carved into it and all that kind of thing. So they're all unique pieces. So he does those, and that's a lot of work. And he's like, look, I'll donate one of those if you hit certain goal. So they're doing that, and then they hit that quite quickly.
Yep.
And then he used guest star on Twitch, which is cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see that feature in news. Yeah,
I loved it. So they had Dummaloop on there, and they're asking questions, and they're talking about Camp Korey and all the other stuff, just amazing. And then playing all the some really cool videos and stuff. And that's why it's something to smile about, because I can just picture these kids and their families and the carers and everybody involved, and just being those magical moments where, and I've realized, my journey in life and everything, just being in that moment, and having that special experience and that connection with people, that is everything. That's so much more magical, important than everything else, right? And being able to give that to these kids that otherwise wouldn't have, not to say they don't have any fun, of course the parents and the families, they try their best, but being able to take kids in those circumstances outside of the normal everyday life and put them somewhere special and with other kids. And one of the parents in one of the videos said something very poignant, which is it's nice to be able to talk about some medical terms or ailments or challenges or what we do to help in certain circumstances without the initial stigma and having to explain what the heck we're talking about in the first place, because you're talking to, even if people don't understand the depth of a specific detailed illness or whatever, you have that common ground of like, we're all in this really tough circumstance together, right? So, you know, just amazing all-round topic. So I'm going to stop myself because I'm going on and on about it, but it's just so amazing. And in the end, they set the goal. If they hit $8,000, then Dummaloop had to make a second one, which was, they were both given away, I think, live on the stream, and
10,000.
And then somebody else said, if we get 8,000, I will match all the 2K's worth of donations to get there, and so that we hit the 10,000 goal. And in the end, they raised just over $10,000 in like a 7-hour session or something. It was insane, you know. And we put in $600.69 from the pledge fund for our part from the grumbling community, and just nothing but good vibes and love, man. It's so good, so good.
Well worth it, and so much fun to see creators be passionate about their skills. And being able to use it for such things, and especially Hula and his friend Duma, who both had that same passion and that kind of slightly crazy look in their eyes, you know. Yeah, both of them had that, so it was good to see. It was very good to see. So yeah. No, that's they. We will link to Camp Korey below, so people can check that out. It's definitely a charity to keep an eye on. They often receive charities, but they need so much because it provides respite. It just provides so much core memories for the kids. Everything. It's just it's a whole package. And speaking of whole packages, my something to smile about also, oddly enough, involves Warner Brothers. You know, in regards to Harry Potter, but this time it's not Harry Potter. So Bethesda are taking Warner Brothers to court for stealing code for their new Westworld game. You know how they found out? They found out by finding one of their original bugs in Fallout Shelter in the Warner Brothers game.
Oh no.
Bethesda, known for having riddles and like their entire games riddled with tiny bugs and issues and such. It's just that's one way of securing your code, I guess. Yep.
That's the wrong kind of copy pasta failure.
Oh my god. No, it made me honestly giggle and chuckle when I found out. And yeah, that's the smile I'm gonna leave you guys with. Very quick and to the point. For next time, I want to point out that we are then going to be in April. April is going to involve a lot of big things. One, I'm gonna have my girlfriend here. She arrives in not very long, actually. And I'm also gonna be doing a charity myself. There's gonna be a charity running from the 3rd of April, I do believe it is. Let me double check 3rd of April is when we start up, and then we run for a full week, and it's going to be for the Norwegian Cancer Society. This is my my pledge, and not that I'm going to say too much about it, but after finding out about what happens to last year's charity for me through a certain organization, I am very passionate on making this even better. So hopefully, and we have some lofty goals. We have grand giveaways ready. Wargaming have provided plenty of vehicles and some really snazzy permanent camos for a couple of ships. We're talking the Japanese lacquer. Oh, you know I like that ship or that ship look. And Wargaming have also Gaijin have also given out that there's going to be custom games. It's going to be shenanigans. So
nice.
If you're listening to this before Easter week, please do consider coming on by my channel and saying hello.
Do it. Let's go.
But yeah, that is going to be it for this episode. I was thinking it was going to be a shorter one. Hell, we're up to about almost 2.5 hours, even with the tiny bits we need to cut.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Any last words for us on this episode, Grumbles? Words of wisdom?
No, I just wish everyone peace and love and good vibes.
I have some words of wisdom. And they're not fancy or big or anything. But do remember, it is a new day. And it is actually filled with new potential, but that doesn't mean that you have to fulfill that potential every single day. Be kind to yourself. And with that being said, it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Grumbles.
Bye.
And we will see you guys in the next Exit to Port. Goodbye.